This is the 7-step framework to an ultimate online presence. So we want to make sure that we hit all 7 steps and that you have everything in place correctly. So just a quick rundown so we can get to the final ones right there. Step 1 was getting your avatar. Step 2 was doing your keyword research. Step 3, content strategy. Step 4, your silos. Now we're getting into step 5, 6, and 7. We're going to cover all 3 of them right now. So step 5 is your web development. Now you've gone through those first 4 steps and you have all this data, right? You have the keyword research, you have your content strategy, you've gone through all that legwork. So now you're ready to build. If you notice, we've done a lot of work and we haven't even talked about setting up a website. Today, it's time to set up a website. So if you're doing it yourself or you're hiring somebody to do it, there's a couple things I want you to think about before you spend thousands of dollars and not knowing what they're doing for you, or maybe you invest in yourself, right? And you don't know where to start, right? So I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks here that you can utilize to make sure that you do the right things in this stage. So for web development, the ideal stack. Now, when I talk ideal stack, I want you guys to know that this is our ideal stack. It can look different for other agencies. It can look different for you. So I just want you to make sure that you understand that. So I'm going to give you what we use, and then you can take it from there. So what we like to build on in regards to our content management system or our platform that we build on is called WordPress. Okay, so WordPress is a free software that you can use to build your websites. Now, when I say free, that's only for the builder, right? So the next thing that you have to think about is hosting. So hosting is basically where your website lives, right? The platform where it's going to live. So it's basically a server that then serves that up to the internet. That way, many people can find it throughout the world, or wherever you're at. So your hosting becomes very important. Sean and I have this conversation with clients all the time when we talk about hosting, because you can go to something like GoDaddy and get very, very cheap hosting, but people don't realize that, like anything else, you get what you pay for, right? So cheap hosting can be detrimental to your SEO, to your website, to your user experience, because when you're getting $2-3 hosting, that means you're sharing a piece of the server, not even an entire server, maybe a piece of the server with hundreds, if not thousands of other users, meaning it slows down your website. You cannot get that speed up. So the user experience for your users, your visitors, becomes not a good experience, right? The next thing is, when you're on a shared type hosting platform, it can become the security starts dropping. Because if one of those people on that server does something wrong, something shady, right, it affects everybody on there. I know some of these server companies do their best to protect against it, but right now it happens, and that's where you got to watch out for. So what we like to do, and what Sean and I have decided for our clients, and what we've done is basically build or partner. We partner with the server company, and we have our own set of servers that are dedicated to our clients. Now that's us. That's kind of giving you the stack on what we use. We kind of went out that far to protect our clients and make sure that we have full management. For you, if you're doing it on your own, I would suggest when you go to whether it's GoDaddy, any platform, Bluehost, whatever, don't go after their cheapest hosting. That is the wrong approach. You have to look at something that, if you're going to build on our stack and you're going to use WordPress, they have specialized WordPress hosting. Number one, ask, is it shared hosting? How many people do you put on am I sharing this with? What do you do for security? Then listen to what they have to say. A lot of them have a very, very well structured program that it will work for you. So those are the couple things that I'll leave you with. Just make sure that you're not buying the cheapest just because it's cheap. Make sure you ask the questions and make sure that you're on a secure platform. Okay.
I mean, that even goes if they're even going out and looking at other companies, I would say. Not just you're going to do this on your own, you're looking at another agency. That question right there, gold bar of what to ask. Is this shared hosting? How do you host? How many other people am I getting kind of thrown into the wrangler with? Because that could open up some complications down the line. And sometimes it's completely out of your control. And that goes for even some of the bigger ones. I know we've had some clients in the past, ClickFunnels type thing, different Wix type thing. There's a horror story out there of Wix completely every site on Wix platform one day just shut down because their stuff crashed on something wrong. So major gold bar right there, folks. To take that one question, and it could really open up your eyes to which direction you ultimately go.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sean. And just to name off a couple, so we talked about the hosting, we talked about the actual stuff. We recommend WordPress, but I'll name off a couple other CMSs content management systems that you might be familiar with, just so we don't leave anything out, just so you know there's other options, right? So other options would be, Sean just mentioned, Wix, Squarespace, Joomla would be just examples of other platforms to build websites. Now, a question I do want to take advantage here to answer would be why WordPress? Why even, why did you choose that? Why is it so good? Because you're able, it's very flexible. It's part of a large community worldwide, so it's always evolving and getting better. And it's one of it's the leading CMS that's used worldwide. So that means you can get a lot of help. At the end of the day, it goes back to support, how much help, how much you can find out about it, how many videos on YouTube you can learn about it. So there's a ton of stuff. And that's why I usually recommend WordPress for people to do that, including ourselves. That's why we use it. So jumping into other questions that you might have, might want to have when you're getting ready to build this website would be, how much access do I have to my website? So you're going to build my website. How much access am I going to have to this website? Are you going to do the edits? Am I going to do the edits? Are you going to charge me and how much, right? So it's very important to know after the fact, okay, you're going to build me a website, but we've run into so many clients that get really excited. They're going to pay X amount, and it's usually a lot, right? We get into the thousands of dollars, they're done, and the company never disclosed that every time they want an edit, it's going to be another set of hundreds of dollars to make that one edit. We actually just got off the phone with someone that's dealing with that, and we're helping them out on some things in regards to that. But make sure, do you have access to it, right? And how much access? Because there is different levels, admin access or just a user. So make sure that you are aware. And then the final thing, I think I already covered it, but I want to cover it again, is support. Overall, I think hands down, that's probably the most important question you should have, because when you're dealing with the digital asset, which is your website, your online presence, things are always, they're going to go wrong. It's not if, it's when. So it's important to have a team behind your support channel. A lot of these platforms have only chat. Horrible idea if you only have chat, because then you have to wait. If you have a business that's rolling and is making, decent money online or whatever, a service that needs action now within, say, the 24-hour period, and you're dealing with a chat bot, you're in trouble because you don't know when that's going to get fixed, right? So I always kind of push, if you are going to go on your own, make sure that all the pieces, your stack, right, your development stack has support. That way, if something goes wrong, you know where to go. So I'll stop right there, Sean, see if anything kind of popped up in your head that we can get into as of right there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the support end of it. At the end of the day, if you're trying to bootstrap this and get this thing going, and you're doing it on your own at the start, the last thing you want to be up against is trying to figure out, how do I make this edit? How do I get this fixed? Or heaven forbid, there actually be a problem. And you're trying to work your way through this, and you don't have any assistance on the back end. So huge piece. I think that one, and the way that it's actually, hosted up, and the server, and is it shared? Am I independent? All those kind of pieces. Those are probably the two biggest complaints that Roger and I hear almost daily from the business owners that we talk to. And I know even people that aren't even our clients, people that I just end up in discussions and conversations with, it eventually comes out that that's what I hate about my platform, or that's what I hate about who's hosting my stuff, or, it drives me batty and all this kind of stuff. So again, ask these kind of things up front, put the plan in place up front. I'm not saying it has to be us. Even if you go somewhere else, make sure that you're going to get the support, and make sure that you're going to get the hosting that you need. So that's about all I got on that.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're going to move on. There's more. There's always more, right? So we kind of nailed some of those questions. So hopefully you guys took some notes, got some good ideas. Maybe you're already kind of rolling with something. Hopefully this helped out. But what I want to get into next is now get into kind of what's the ROI, right? What's my return on investment for going through all this work and getting a well-structured website and asking the questions and everything. Why am I doing this? What's the value of having an online asset, right? A website, an online presence, a well-structured presence that we're trying to get to those golden spots. Why? Well, it puts you in front of the ideal client. So just going to drop it. And literally a well-structured website puts you in front of your ideal client.
100%. And if they listened to what we talked about in the earlier episodes, you already know who that client is, and you get in front of that one, not just a ideal, but there was a keyword in there. So
absolutely. Absolutely. So that one right there, we're going to leave it there. We love kind of putting it there because that's what the website's going to do. And if you get into those top golden positions, you'll start seeing the conversion. So now, don't stop. We see a lot of companies get to page one and they give up because they're not giving conversions, even though they're on page one. Keep in mind, we talked about the golden spots, 1, 2, and 3. They might be in position 5, 6, 7. Keep going, guys. You're almost there if you're at that spot. If you're not, then work towards. That's your goal now. Now you know what your goal is, where the conversions are at. So the next thing that I want to get into is now you went through all this stuff, you asked the right questions, you got a website, and you're thinking, all right, I'm done. You're not. This is you're not done, guys. Even though the web development portion is finished, your keyword research at some point is finished, your content, you're live with your website. Sean and I like to push a methodology called growth-driven design methodology. So this methodology, basically what it is that you should never stop building. You should never stop evolving your online presence. The traditional web development process is a 2-year process, basically a 2-year evolution of a website. And Sean can add to this. I'll kind of point out, but I know Sean has a great way to put it. But usually you build a website, you say it's done, it sits for 2 years, it does nothing for you. Do a redesign because you think that was the problem. You wait another 2 years and you keep going over this process, but it never does anything. And then you end up with that really salty feeling that online presence doesn't work. It just wasn't done correctly. So I'll pass it on to Sean. I love the way he kind of puts it and explains this.
yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's like you just hired an employee to come sit and answer a phone that you forgot to plug in. And then you get pissed off that the employee is wasting you money because you're paying for that person and they're just not answering the phone. And why are they sitting here all day not answering the phone? And 3 years go by and you're like, oh, shit, forgot to plug in the phone. Hence why that person wasn't answering it. And I know it sounds funny, but in reality, this is what we see over and over and over again from a lot of small to medium-sized businesses. Large business, corporate, this is normal for them to constantly be making updates and overhauls and adding and really kind of advanced stuff, because a lot of them have the built-in team, right? They've got a built-in web development team and a web, kind of a technical stack, so to say, of employees. That's small to medium size. This is a pain point. They don't want to deal with it, partially because they don't know what to deal with. That's why we broke this down in these 4 episodes here. But the other side of it is it's just a pain. It's a headache. They're confused. They don't know what's going on. They're not getting any results. So they just say, screw it. And really, it's because that phone's just not plugged in, right? They didn't really dial it up the right way. So growth driven is all about that methodology. You're not done. The website is never done. You are never completed. I laugh when we actually hear business owners say, yeah, I just got done developing my website. Great, start over, because it's already out of date if that's the mentality you're kind of running with. So little fun way to think about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to take an opportunity there. If a lot of you just that was a little bit of an eye opener and you want to learn more about growth driven design, what we're talking about with this methodology, Sean just popped up a link there, topresultsconsulting.com/masterclass. You can also go just to our website. There's a number of areas where we have a call to action button that says the masterclass there. We have a free, absolutely free resource there where you guys can go through a short course that Sean has done a great job creating, so you guys can learn more about that and how you can implement it into your business. With that, growth-driven design, I mean, we cannot push it enough. Don't think it's done. Keep building, keep adding value, so you can continue kind of moving yourself up those rankings. Okay, so now we're going to kind of move away from basically web development. We talked a lot about the web development and everything. Websites live. We talked about growth-driven design. You know, you have to keep going to add that value and keep moving up the rankings. So how are you going to do that? So we're going to get into what I call step 6 is now you have that. It's out there. Now what? This is basically where the traditional kind of web development stops. And a lot of people get stuck here. They do nothing and they expect that if you build it, they will come. Well, that's
just going to say that's it, man. I built it and now they'll come, right? I have a website, they'll just start showing up. You're telling me that's not true?
Oh man, it's not Hollywood. Trust me, it's not Hollywood. You got to put some elbow grease, some work into this. So the next part that we're going to be discussing is promotion. You need to promote your assets, right? You need to promote your brand. So this is a portion I'm gonna pass over to my buddy Sean here. We're gonna get into. There's a number of things. We don't want to go down a rabbit hole and just because there's hundreds of ways. So we're just gonna give you some ideas, a starting point, because this is mainly for entrepreneurs that are getting started or have something they're kind of stuck. So we're gonna give you a handful of things, some action items that you can potentially take now, so you can start promoting that brand. So Sean, go ahead, take it away on that portion.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the promotion side, I mean, obviously we probably are going to do some episodes in the future breaking these down even in more nitty-gritty detail, but let's just go simple right out of the gate. Many small businesses, you're on social platforms, and a great way to start promoting your brands, promoting some of your stuff, and it's probably an overlooked area right now in the social kind of space, is what's known as optimizing your personal profile. And when I say optimizing your personal profile, what I'm talking about is really making who you are online your business, really showcasing who it is. And that gives you the ability now to promote or put in your website domain. It gives you a opportunity. Maybe it's in that cover photo. Maybe it's somewhere just listed in some, some level of your description, clearly explaining in that description who you are as a business and as the business owner of that business and what that business does and where they can go to get more information. Because truth be told, there are stalkers stalking your profile. If you're at all active online on social platforms, in groups, doing anything, at some point, somebody's not sure who you are. They're clicking over to your personal profile. They're trying to figure out, who is this Roger Valdez that just made this comment that actually resonates with me or that I completely disagree with? And before I go off on him, I want to know who he is. Don't kid yourself that there isn't people stalking to that level to think. And I know this because I do it. I do it every day, and people do it to me all the time. I can't tell you how many times people make a comment and I'm like, they read something on my profile. They just recently looked at a post that I put up and said that on it. So that is like step 1, super, super simple to promote it. And again, I don't care if it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever it's at, and really across all of those platforms. Roger can probably share here why that also helps from an SEO push. But that's a super simple way to start promoting without really needing to do a lot. Just put it out there and people will start to recognize it. And it's kind of that good old fashioned, they see it enough times, it starts to resonate, or it creates the curiosity. Hey, I see Roger and what he's saying and what he's doing. I followed him for a little bit and I've read his profile. You know what? Let me go check out his website. And boom, now we've got him coming in. That's one easy way. Maybe talk real quick on why the social side. What does that do from an SEO push?
Yeah, absolutely. So in SEO, it's called a social signal. So basically, what you're doing when you're mentioning your brand out there. It's called a social signal. It means somebody is mentioning your brand. That pings the Google algorithm as well. Not only the Google algorithm, but also that particular social media platform algorithm to say, hey, this is a brand. The more they hear about your brand, the more it gets in front of the index. Basically, it goes higher based on what you're about. That's why it's very important not only to prime your social media platforms or profiles to talk about your expertise and where you are. Add your links to your websites, guys. I don't know how many times I've seen it where a lot of people they prime them, but they don't link. Google is a robot. It needs to find a path. If you don't give it a path to the correct assets and you don't connect your assets together, then it loses. It becomes what we mentioned on our last episode. We mentioned something called like Orphan Pages. Well, it can be an orphan asset as well. That's just floating out there. You mentioned it, but you didn't connect. You didn't give the bots a path to connect to the other assets. Because at the end of the day, what you're creating an ecosystem around your brand, right? So your website sits in the middle, and all these other assets, social media and everything else around it, needs to connect back to the main asset so you can amplify your brand online. Okay. So one thing I want to get into now, we kind of mentioned the social signals. Another easy way to really promote your brand is to go out there and look for local directories about, where you can create a profile about your business. Just to name a few, the yellowpages.com, angieslist.com, if you're a service-based or a trades-based type company, allows you to create a free profile. The BBB, right? The Better Business Bureau is another strong profile. Google My Business, probably the strongest of all because it's a Google asset. So I'm going to leave it there. Now you guys have an idea of a couple ways to amplify your brand online. And then one thing that I do want to explain here, Sean, since we did touch on the social signal aspect, there are two types of basically we call them citations as well, but they're mentions, right? Any type of directory or mention of your website, right? There's a structured and a non-structured way to do this, and it's okay. Either one is good. So structured is anytime you go to a platform like the Better Business Bureau, you fill out a form with all your business information. They allow you to put a link to your website. That's awesome. You need that. But an unstructured citation, basically a mention of your brand, is like on social media. When I had a good experience with your business, and on my personal profile, I go and do a comment and say, I use this business. They helped me sell my house, and this, you should definitely use them. They don't have to link back to your website, but to mention your brand name. That's awesome. So that's another way to really do that and amplify both your structured and unstructured mentions or citations online.
Absolutely. The other thing that I would mention that's super simple, highly overlooked, is everything about your communication should come back to the website. Roger and I was actually speaking at an event in Phoenix just a couple weeks ago. Roger was on that. It was a virtual event that I was speaking at on this topic of growth-driven design and really making the website your number one sales and marketing asset. Everything that I kind of talk about in the masterclass. And again, you guys can head over there, topresultsconsulting.com/masterclass to check that out. But one thing I kept reiterating and saying over and over and over again is drive everything through your website. Every bit of communication that you have with somebody wants to book an appointment to talk with you. Somebody wants to get on your calendar to meet with you. Somebody wants you to come out and take a look at their project or their home. Or if you're more of a service base where they got a scheduled time, like a good friend of mine, is a doctor, all that stuff, everything should be pushing, drive them to the website, tell them, go here to do this, go here to do this. If you notice, like 20 times in this episode itself, we've said you want to catch up past episodes, go to Top Results Consulting, go to the web buzz section, you'll catch it, right? Go to topresultsconsulting.com/this/that. Why? It's landing you on pages and different elements and assets of our website to get you into the ecosystem. If you get into the ecosystem, you're probably going to start to see some other things that intrigue you or that are better, maybe a good suit for you. This really goes on your blog side. Can't say that one enough. The blogs are the ammunition. They're the piece. We talked a little bit about that last week, right? In that kind of bottom phase of the silo, the fuel to the fire, so to say. those blogs, share those blogs out, put them on your social platforms and link to them, link to a really good one that you got. Maybe it's the main kind of blog topic and you've got some supporting ones around it, but you want to get them to the one first and then they'll eventually work their way through. Link to that in some of your stuff, in some of your email communication. Just simply say, hey, by the way, if you didn't check that out already, I've got this over here that you can go check out. So another simple way. Obviously, there's a ton of ways, and we'll probably do an episode where we break down, the 6, 7, 10, whatever, kind of highly overlooked / highly effective ways to promote your brand. But I'm just talking super simple, out of the gate things that you guys can take action immediately on. Just put it out there. And think of every time that you've missed an opportunity to say, "Oh, by the way, you can actually get that on my website." And if you're noticing, I don't actually have anything on my website, that's the growth driven design side. That's why you start kind of vamping up, right? And revamping and adding to and going, that is a resource that I consistently have to give out or talk about, or somebody's always asking for this. Why don't I build something into my website that they can access it, get their hands on it? Maybe it's gated, maybe it's not gated. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can get into on the strategy around that. But how do you promote it? Leverage it. It should be your go-to tool for your business.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it any better than that, man. So we talked about that's the ecosystem of the whole online presence. Your website's in the middle. Everything should be connecting to it. That way it amplifies that message. So that was step 6, guys. Let's get into the final step of the 7-step framework to an ultimate online presence, right? We're going to wrap this up. What do you have to do in step 7? Pretty much repeat the process.
I got to go back to the beginning?
So all that work was for maybe a set of keywords, one page, right? If you're looking to kind of rank in a certain position, like we showed an example towards the beginning of this show with Maverick Property Group. They really want to take advantage of the Charlotte market, right? Keep in mind, that's not their only market they're in. But what we did, we focused the first couple months around making sure they take advantage of a set of keywords for that. We went through this entire 7-step process and boom, they're ranking number 2. By next month or the month after that, we'll be dominating position 1 and owning those conversions. That's when it gets fun.